Now today in histology I will tell you about the female reproductive system. The female reproductive system is consisting of a pair of ovaries, a pair of fallopian tube, uterus, vagina. All these are the reproductive organs which are located in the pelvic part of the pelvic cavity. We divide the abdomen into the pelvic cavity and these parts. So, all these organs, pair of ovaries, fallopian tube, uterus, all these are located in the pelvic cavity. Besides these internal organs, there are accessory glands. There are accessory glands which also take part during development and other part of the fetus. These accessory glands are mammary gland, a pair of mammary gland, placenta, umbilical cord. So we will discuss one by one all of these. First of all, look the ovaries. Ovaries are the pair organ and they are about almond shape. These almond shaped ovaries, they are attached to the posterior part of the broad ligament of uterus. So when we will talk about the uterus, its support coming the broad ligament of uterus. So ovaries are attached to the posterior part of broad ligament of uterus by means of peritoneal folds. And these peritoneal folds is called mesoovarium. These ovaries, they produce the ova. Besides the ova productions, they also secrete the hormones. And the hormones secreted by it are estrogen and progesterone. Now look the diagram of ovary. It is surrounded by the cuboidal epithelium, simple cuboidal epithelium. This simple cuboidal epithelium, they are producing the ovas and they are not concerning with the sex cells. But misnomers of it is just opposite to it. In male reproductive system, there is the germinal epithelium which are related with the production of the sperms and this. But this layer is not concerning with this. Misnomerly, I am using the word, misnomerly it is named as germinal epithelium, but it is not actually concerned with the germinal layer. It is a simple cuboidal epithelium. This simple cuboidal epithelium is misnomers is named as germinal epithelium, otherwise it is not related with its function. Just below this epithelium, there is the connective tissue layer, white color, that is tunica albuginea. That is the tunica albuginea. The parenchymal part of the ovary, this is dividing into outer cortex and inner medullary part. See in this diagram, you are seeing the various type of the follicles, smaller size primordial follicles, slightly larger, primary, primordial, secondary, atretic, all that type of follicles, all these are located in the cortex parts. While in the medullary part, you are seeing only the blood vessels, nerves and these things. In short, we can say the parenchyma of the ovary is dividing into cortex part, which is outer part, and this cortex part is containing the various developmental stages of follicles. Whatever the stage of follicles that are located in the cortex part. while in the medullary part, that is related with the blood vessels, nerves and lymphatics, nothing more. That is the basic structure of the ovary. So when we will focus the slide under the microscope, you will see this picture. Outer cuboidal layer, simple cuboidal layer, below that tunica albuginea, connective tissue layer, and the cortex part showing the different stages, developmental stages of the follicles, and medullary part showing the blood vessels and nerves. That is the histological picture of the ovary. Now, as we see in the cortex, you are seeing the different stages, developmental stages of the follicles. Look here, very smaller size of the follicles, showing the oocyte in the center. These are called primordial follicles. Primordial follicles. Next to the primordial follicles, the primordial follicles enlarges in size and the oocyte is also increasing in size. That is called primary follicles. Look here, that is called primary follicles. The primary follicles further mature, and this maturing of the primary follicles is converting into the secondary follicles. And the secondary follicles further mature into the Graafian follicle. But one thing, note down here, only the one follicle matures into the Graafian follicle, not the all. The rest of the follicles, they degenerate. And this degeneration of the follicles is called atretic follicles. Look here. The follicles which are not mature into the Graafian follicle are called atretic follicles. So you can see also the atretic follicles. And the one follicle which is mature and showing all the stages, that is called Graafian follicle. This one. After seeing all this, now see one by one the point. Look here. This is the primary follicle. Look here. The epithelium lining it is squamous epithelial cell. That is the squamous epithelial cells. And the oocyte, primary oocyte is here. Then see the second one, the squamous epithelial cells converting into the cuboidal cells. Squamous epithelial cells converting into the cuboidal cells. That is maturation. And this cuboidal cell further develop the larger number of the granular cells. See this diagram. But as this second diagram, where the squamous epithelial cells converting into the cuboidal cells, look the oocyte. Oocyte is also increasing in size compared to this, and surrounding this part, surrounding the oocyte, you are seeing the pink color line. This one, this is called zona pellucida. The zona pellucida separate the granular cells from the oocyte. And this stage is called the primary oocyte. This primary oocyte, so up to this part you can see primordial follicles are very smaller in size. Primordial follicles are very smaller in size, and the oocyte present is also smaller in size. They mature, and the maturation of the follicle is under the hormones FSH, follicular stimulation hormones. So under the control of FSH, this primordial follicles develop into the primary follicles. The primary follicles is showing these stages. That is, the oocyte increases in size, squamous cells converting into columnar cells, and zona pellucida develops. Now see this third diagram. The same picture, oocyte is surrounding by zona pellucida. Only the difference is that this granulosa cells multiplied here, and multiplication of these the granulosa cells is seen, and outer layer you are seeing the yellowish color dotted structure, that is part of the stroma. That is the part of stroma. And look at the periphery of the granulosa cells, that is the basement membrane, this one. And outside the basement membrane, the yellow color part is of stroma. Now what happens? That as the granulosa cells mature, multiply, between the multiplication of it is the empty spaces, liquor folliculi appear. See these empty spaces. These empty spaces are liquor folliculi. These liquor folliculi develops, and as the liquor folliculi develops, they press this oocyte towards one end. So see the position of the oocyte here and here. Here the oocyte comes on at the one end. How it comes? By the pushing of the liquor folliculi. So liquor which is collected here, they pushing this oocyte at one end. Now look this part. So this is called, all these liquor folliculi, they close and meet each other, and this condition is called antrum. So what is the antrum? That all the liquor folliculi meet together and they press the oocyte at one end. All right. Now at this stage, see this part of the granulosa cells. The granulosa cells which is lying over the oocyte, I am talking of this part. The granulosa cells which is lining over the oocyte, that is called cumulus oophorus. Cumulus oophorus, that is this one. Similarly, the granulosa cells which is outside, they are the granulosa cells, and this is the liquor folliculi. Up to this part, the primary oocyte which is undergoing, you are reading the embryology part. Which part of meiosis, first stage of meiosis, remain in prophase phase? So the first meiotic division which begins in the fetal life, the first meiotic division which begins in the fetal life and remain in the prophase stage up to the ovulation. Remain in prophase stage up to the ovulation. At this formation, this part of the follicle, look this part of the follicle, this is called the Graafian follicle. So what is the Graafian follicle? This picture, where the granulosa cells also differentiate. One layer of the granulosa cells surrounding the oocyte, another layer is lying on the periphery, and this is called the Graafian follicle. So up to this part, the first meiotic division is completed, and now it goes under the second meiotic division, and in the secondary oocyte, the formation of this, it undergoes ovulation. So oocyte comes out. As the oocyte comes out, it take along with the cumulus oophorus layer. That is the development of the oocyte. So all these stages, primordial follicle, we must know that it is surrounding by the squamous epithelial layer, and it is resting stage, and this resting stage is remaining up to the part of ovulation. and next is secondary follicle and all these. Then comes the Graafian follicle. Now look this follicle, another one. After the ovulation, oocyte comes out. Look here. Oocyte comes out, taking it along the zona pellucida and the part of the corona, this cumulus euphorus. The rest of the part of the follicle, look this part. The rest of the follicle starts, the wall of it is shedding off and it is converting into the part of the and gland. It is converting into the gland, and that gland is persisting if the fertilization is taking place. If no fertilization, then this gland is remain up to 3 to 12 days and shed off. I am showing you the another part of the diagram. Look this part. This is the Graafian follicle, complete picture what you will see here. The secondary oocyte and this part, and this is the Graafian follicle, more diagram. And this is the part of after shedding of the ovary, the shedding of the ova, the remaining part of the follicle shed off and it is forming, converting into the endocrine gland. This endocrine gland is called corpus luteum. Look here. This is corpus luteum. The corpus luteum, its granular cells is differentiating into two parts or converting into the luteal cells. These luteal cells, one is inner side, this is called granular luteal cells, and outer one is called the theca luteal cells. This one, outer one. These are secreting the hormones. This granular cells is secreting the hormones. No reply. I am giving you hint. One hormone is coming, progesterone. That is coming from corpus luteum. Which part? Lutein cells. I have told you two parts. The lutein cells. Look here. This is inner part, which is called granular luteal cells, and outer one is called the theca lutein cell. Now my question is, estrogen is coming from which part? Progesterone is coming from which lutein cell? Zero. You have gone through the embryology lecture. The progesterone is coming from this part and estrogen is coming from this part. Okay. The one is, listen again, the granular cell is dividing into two parts. If you see the previous diagram, the granular cells and the stromal part. Okay. The stromal part which is dividing into the luteal cell, that is called extra luteal cell, extra granulosa and inner granulosa. The extra one is dividing into again the luteal cells, and these luteal cells, look in this diagram, I can show you again. This is the extra part. This extra part, granulosa part, is converting into the capsule. That is this one, you can see here. That is the extra part. And the inner part is developing into the or dividing into the luteal cells, and luteal cells we again divide into two parts. The luteal cells, outer luteal cells which are darkly stained and smaller in size, that is paraluteal cells or theca luteal cells, and inner one which are larger in size and lightly stained, this is called the granular luteal cells. They are secreting the hormones progesterone and estrogen. Diagram. I am telling you about this. What is this? Stromal cell. This stromal cell is again dividing into two parts, theca interna and theca externa. And theca interna is give rise to development of luteal cells, and theca externa is forming the capsule that I have shown you in the last diagram. And the function of this is forming the hormones. You can also see this picture. This is theca externa part, and this is theca interna part. It is better that if I use my own laptop rather this. Now next slide is of fallopian tube. The fallopian tube is a tube-like structure, pair of tube-like structure, which one end is attached to the uterus and another end is opened into the peritoneal cavity. And that end is fimbriated, that is showing the large number of the finger-like projections, which are close to the ovary, and this tube is dividing into the part, ampullary part, the isthmus part, and dilated part, and all these. The function of the uterine tube, it provides nutrition to the ova, which are taking it from the ovaries, and also the fertilization taking place in the fallopian tube. After providing nutrition and fertilization, then it transfers the ova into the uterus. That is the function of the fallopian tube. When we see the slide of fallopian tube under the microscope, what we find that mucosa of the fallopian tube is showing the large number of the folds, and these folds are converting, the lumen is very partially visible. You will see in the lumen large number of the folds, and these folds are lined by ciliated columnar epithelial cells. These folds are lined by the ciliated columnar epithelial cells. The lamina propria is showing the blood vessels and nerves, and muscle coat is showing the inner circular muscle fibers and outer longitudinal muscle fibers. So, for identification of it is, if you find in the lumen is showing the large number of the folds, mucosal folds, and the lining of these mucosal folds are by the ciliated columnar epithelium. And some cells, when we focus under the 40x, then what we see that these columnar cells all are not ciliated. Rather, few are ciliated, few are not ciliated. The non-ciliated cells are the secretory cells. The non-ciliated cells are the secret cells. So both type of the cells you will find, all are lined by the columnar cells. The columnar cells may be ciliated or non-ciliated. Then we come to the third slide, that is uterus. The uterus, we divide this layer of the uterus, endometrium layer, innermost layer, that is called endometrium layer, middle layer myometrium, and outer one is perimetrium. The endometrium part of uterus, again we divide this into outer 2/3 part or upper 2/3 part of endometrium, that is called functionalist part of endometrium, and below lower 1/3 part of endometrium is called the basalis part of endometrium. The point is that stratum functionalis part, that is upper 2/3 part of endometrium, It undergoes the menstrual changes and shed off during the menstrual cycle. Upper two-third part of endometrium, which is called stratum functionalis, that undergoes the menstrual cyclic changes, and during that it is the part of endometrium which is shed off, while the lower one-third part of endometrium, that is called stratum basale, and that part is not shed off. Look this diagram, that is upper two-third part, that is stratum functionalis part. The blood supply, if we see the blood supply of the two parts, the blood supply of stratum functionalis part is spiral, while the blood supply, the arteries supplying the basalis part, they are straight. The arteries of stratum functionalis part during menstrual life is rupture and responsible for the bleeding, while the stratum basalis arteries, which are straight arteries, they are not affected by the menstrual cycle. Besides this, no doubt, whatever the stage, the epithelium, it is more important your talk than which I am telling you. Yes, both of you I am telling you. The endometrium and this part, it is very easy to identify that they are lined by simple columnar epithelium. The lamina propria part, that is this one, is showing the large number of the blood vessels and uterine glands. What are these? These are the uterine glands. Okay, then the muscular coat is also simple. The inner part circular, then the longitudinal, and again the longitudinal. But if we take the section of uterus in two stages, if we take in the part of the proliferative phase, that means this part, the slide of uterus is two stages. One is in the proliferative phase. In proliferative phase, look here, the columnar epithelium, simple columnar epithelium cells, the lamina propria is showing the glands. These glands are straight, not tortuous, very important part. In the lamina propria part, in proliferative stage, the uterine glands are straight and short, while in secretive phase, the uterine glands become tortuous. They are not straight, they become tortuous. Muscle coat, no changes. Muscle coat remains same in both these stages. So this is the diagram in proliferative phase. Now look this one. This is the diagram of uterine glands. Look here. The uterine glands are tortuous or larger in size. Columnar epithelium same. No changes in the muscle coat. Only the changes seen in the part of uterine glands, by which we can say that this is the uterus, slide of uterus in secretive stage or in proliferative stage. Because once you identify the slide is of uterus, definitely the next question will be asked to you, whether which stage, secretive stage or proliferative stage, and that can be identified by this, seeing the uterine glands shape. The menstrual stage cycle, we will not provide you slides, only the secretive phase and proliferative phase. In menstrual phase, you will see the large number of the blood mass, nothing else. So that is the part of uterine glands. Now the last part of internal organs, that is vagina. Look here, the epithelium is stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. In animals it is keratinized, in human beings non-keratinized. Then second thing, lamina propria part, rich in the blood vessels, nerves, rich in the blood vessels, nerves, but no glands. Underline that. Underline that. No glands. Generally you students speak glands. No, there is no glands in lamina propria. It is kept moist by the glands of cervix of the uterus. The cervical glands of the uterus kept moist. Otherwise, vagina is having no glands, and that is commonly asked. The muscle coat, very simple. Then I come to the part of accessory glands. सुन लो, अभी पहले बाद में बात कर लेना. The first one is mammary glands. I am talking of now the accessory glands. A pair of mammary glands. The mammary gland is consisting of large number of about 15 to 20 lobules. Each gland is having about 15 to 20 lobules. Each lobules are separated from each other by interlobular septa. Look, this is the one lobule, this is another lobule, and interlobular septa you can see here. The lobules are having the duct, single duct, that is called lactiferous duct, and these lactiferous ducts are open at the nipple. Lactiferous duct is lined by stratified columnar epithelium. Each lobule is having a duct, and that duct is called lactiferous duct, and lactiferous duct is lined by striated columnar epithelial cells, and it is opening at the nipple. I am notifying every student. Don't worry, God. I am seeing you. At present, you are not writing. And while asking the question, also none. Besides the duct, when we see the lobule are lined by the cuboidal epithelial cells. Lobule are lined by the cuboidal epithelial cells. Don't sit in front. You are having something wrong. Why are you keeping a smile every time? Always smiling, whether listening the so when we see the lobule is consisting of large number of the alveoli, and these alveoli are lined by the cuboidal epithelial cells, and they are opening into the nipple by the lactiferous duct. All right, the slide is identifiable. Okay, no problem, because you will see this type of the picture. Lobule are consisting of large number of the alveoli inside it, and lactiferous tract we can also identify. But the next question is coming, whether the mammary gland section is in the inactive stage or in the active stage. Look the both diagrams. This is the inactive stage and this is the lactating mammary gland. To differentiate this, see the alveoli in the two slides. See in the part inactive stage. In inactive stage, the alveoli are very smaller in size. They are not fully developed. See any one. Alveoli are smaller in size, they are not fully developed. And the interlobular connective tissue mass is too much. As alveoli will not be enlarged, naturally the connective tissue mass will be larger in size. The duct is same. In lactating mammary gland, look here, the alveoli are larger in size, fully developed, and in some of the alveoli you can see the secretion also. Milk secretion can also be seen in some alveoli. The interlobular connective tissue mass is definitely reduced in size as alveoli will increase in part. So by this we can differentiate that this is the mammary gland of inactive stage or lactating mammary gland. Then we come to the another accessory gland, placenta. The placenta is extra embryonic part. This extra embryonic part is consisting of two ends. It is having two ends. The fetal end of it is consisting of fetal plate from the large number of the chorionic villi comes. So see in the diagram, all these rounded structures, all these are the chorionic villi. These chorionic villi, they are arranged, attached with this chorionic plate. So this is the chorionic plate. So as I have told you, placenta is having the two ends. One is the fetal end. The fetal end is showing the fetal plate, that is this part. And from this fetal end, the large number of the chorionic villi comes. And look the another part. That is the mother end. That is decidua basilis. That is the part of uterus. This is decidua basilis. All right. And all these are the chorionic villi. The point is this. When we focus the slide, we will see this large number of the chorionic villi. And see any one chorionic villi. These chorionic villi, look here, they are surrounding by the trophoblast, and inside the lumen of chorionic villi, you will find the fetal blood vessels. I am repeating again. Large number of the chorionic villi are there. When we focus any one chorionic villus, inside the chorionic villus, there is the connective tissue mass. In that part, you will find the fetal blood vessels. Fetal blood vessels. And these fetal blood vessels are surrounding by the trophoblastic layer. Is surrounding by the trophoblastic layer. And you are looking between the chorionic villi, this yellow color, large number of the masses, these are the maternal blood. These trophoblasts which is surrounding the chorionic villus is again dividing into two layers. Inner one is the cytotrophoblast, outer is the syncytotrophoblast. One layer persists and another layer disappears. Which layer persists and when it persists? The syncytotrophoblast is continued, and that is continued about up to 4 to 5 months, while the cytotrophoblast it disappears. Last slide, the umbilical cord. Umbilical cord connects the fetus with the placenta. It connects the fetus with the placenta. The diagram of the umbilical cord is very simple. When we focus the slide, you will see this picture, that large number of the part of the connective tissue mass, which is called Barton's jelly, mucoid connective tissue mass. This is mucoid connective tissue mass. Because of this, it is specialized name Barton's jelly. Barton's jelly is nothing but mucoid connective tissue mass. Lying in the mucoid connective tissue mass, you will find the one umbilical vein and two umbilical arteries. Alright, the slide very simple to identify. The next question is, umbilical vein carries, yes, besides the umbilical vein, which other vein carries oxygenated blood? Good. And umbilical arteries are carrying. Alright. The deoxygenated blood from the fetus, where it goes? In the placenta. In the placenta. थोड़ा तो दिमाग लगाया करो. And oxygenated blood coming from umbilical vein, through the umbilical vein to the fetus, again from the placenta. So these are the slides in female reproductive system which you will see. Any problem which you want? Nothing. If you can see, look this diagram. This is syncytotrophoblast, outer layer. The cytotrophoblast disappears. The slide of mammary gland you can identify only by seeing the size and shape of the alveoli. This is simple. Only one thing you keep in your mind, that no glands. Uterus, by again seeking size and shape of the uterine glands. Fallopian tube. What is the other slide? Where you will find the lumen is filled up. What is the slide of vas deferens? The star shape. And anything, any another slide? Ureter is star shape. Alright. Corpus luteum. I will focus the slide where you can see all type of maximum stages of at least atretic follicles, the Graafian follicles, corpus luteum, And there is the one more part, atretic follicle completely shed off and the whitish mass remains. That is called corpus albicans. Okay, I will take the last class on the special senses.